Okay. Okay. Are we live? I think we're live. All right. Sorry, short delay there, guys, with some technical difficulties. Have we got anyone online? Let me know in the chat. Let me know. Can you hear me? That would be good to know, wouldn't it? Have we got some people online? Joe, hey brother. Victor, nice one. All right, so we got a lot of tracks through today. Well, we got a lot of submissions, guys, and I felt a bit bad because I think there were like 35 or 40 people who sent tracks through, and like literally almost half of them either had like a link, they'd put a link that wasn't like the private link to SoundCloud, it was just a link from, they just copied the URL, so when I click it, it doesn't go to the track, or it didn't have downloads enabled. So on the downside, those people miss out. On the upside, I was feeling a bit bad because there were going to be a bunch of people that didn't get their tracks through. But looks like pretty much everyone who did it properly will get listened to. Fingers crossed. So enough of that. You know, we live and learn. Hopefully, hopefully people can figure it out. Oh, it is how it is. Anyway, let's just jump in and start from the start. Right. Dose in sight. Let's go. This is really good. I like this. All right, this is fucking insane. You just won. Like, I think you just won the track feedback. Yeah, that's really, really, really good. Super impressed. The I don't know. I wish I could write tracks like that. The mix obviously is a bit all over the place. I think if that was like mixed really, really tightly, that would just be an absolute fucking bomb. I don't know. Or like, my advice for you on that is like, get it mixed. Don't stress about doing it yourself if you don't feel like you can live up to. If you don't think that you can like get the most out of the track that it deserves, if you can't get the most potential out of it, then get someone else to mix it. But get it mixed down super, super tight and get it out to some labels, man. It's fucking sick. Yeah, it could be a mix thing, but yeah, I think it's just a mix thing. Like I was going to say, it could use a more driving hi-hat, but the hi-hats are there. It just needs to be a bit brighter. Man, sick. All right, Luca Pensa, you got a lot to live up to, dude. Let's go. man, this is another really, really good track. What can I say? Victor Nova said the instrumental is too good for the vocal. I tend to agree with Victor. The vocal's okay, but I think you could have something like pretty epic there. I think it's a really cool instrumental. The vocal kind of works, but I don't think it's I think there's more potential to be had out of the track. Someone asked if I can turn up the mic. It's actually up as loud as it goes. Let me just try something and see if I can get it a touch loud. No. I can try and sit closer. And I just changed the headphones. I had a problem getting those wireless ones connected, and it just sounded a bit weird. Sorry, I. Thanks for the headphones, but yeah, they didn't win this time. Yeah, man, this is really, really, really fucking good. You've sent in quite a few tracks over the last wee while, and the level of production has gotten really, really good. I think, for this style, I think to level up, I think you could, and make your track stand out, I think like getting some vocalists on board could be really, really good. Something like jumping on Sound Better. It's a website where you can kind of contract like session musicians or vocalists or mixing and mastering engineers, but there's a lot of like really professional people on there. It's quite expensive, or can be quite expensive, but I think you can, it's like one of the places where you can get the best results. You can obviously try something like Fiverr for a vocalist, but it's a fucking minefield. All right, let's go Junior Mark. Junior, I think you sent in like 6 tracks or something. I took 1. Yeah, guys, if you send in like 6 tracks, I'm just going to take the first one. Or if you send in more than 1, I'm just going to take the first one because, we want to make it fair and then have everybody have a go. Anyway, let's jump in. There's some weird sound on the clap, like it's got like a little after weird sound. Yeah, I think just like something like a 909 clap or something would just be so much more perfect on this. It's just something that's distracting. Otherwise, everything around it sounds really cool. Yeah, so that clap thing's really annoying, but I'm trying to get past that. There's like it's cool that you've got these little bits where you drop out the kick and you have a crash and stuff, but it's pretty repetitive in there, and I think you could just have like even a few little percussion things that happen, once every couple of bars, or so maybe like something that happens every bar, something that happens every 2 bars, something that happens every 4 bars, and that just kind of extends out this loop that you've got there, and it will just also add some kind of ear candy and some depth to what you've got going on. Also having a bit of movement on the synths would help. But in general, it's like a really cool deep groove. Everything works well together, apart from the clap, obviously, in my opinion. Other thing is your synths sound a bit muddy. Like, I think you could open up the cutoff. Well, probably not open up the cutoff. Maybe use a bit of envelope modulation to have it a bit brighter. Because you've got a couple of synths. You've got your pads, and then this kind of like main chord stab sound that's like happening in a pretty similar area in the frequency spectrum. So there's not much dynamics in the frequency. Is that the right word? Dynamics? But there's not much range in the frequency. Everything's kind of happening around the same area, and it just makes it all feel a bit muddy. Yeah. And then also the synths are quite static, so just opening them up a bit. Yeah, so I mean, I think in my general feedback for this is like, it's really solid. It's cool that it sounds very like concise in terms of like, you've got this cool idea. You're not adding in anything too wacky or too out there. You're sticking to the plan. I think just starting to work the arrangement a bit with some automation and just getting things changing up a little bit will be that's what basically from this point, I think, to take it to the next level, it's about arrangement and automation, and just getting some movement in there. It's also pretty narrow, like most of the things are happening in the center, so just using some panning to spread things out a bit. Maybe some chorus on some elements that aren't super. Just be careful. You could use some chorus, but just be careful about creating phase issues. So yeah, but good stuff. think your bass is like really kind of killing the mix. It's like you've got really, really loud bass and the notes are quite long, so it's like running into the kick and it's just kind of overpowering everything. It could just be a mixing issue, but yeah, then your hats, like your open hat, is like very, it's almost like shakery. It's like it's very, very high, like there's not a lot of body to it, so it kind of the track feels like it should be a kind of peak time tech house thing, but it feels, the combination of the vocal doing this like dubby type thing, and then the hat not really having any body, and then the bass is almost kind of sucking energy out of the track because it's like overpowering things. Yeah, it's not quite working. I think if you just kind of go back to basics with it a bit, like I think it could work. It's just the way that you've got all the elements together at the moment isn't, it's like it's lacking energy. You've also, like, these leads and stuff, they're cool, but I think maybe it would be better without it. I think just simplify things a bit. Make sure you've got this really solid foundation on your drums and bass, that you're like, that basically for like a tech house thing like this, you want your kick, clap and open hat to be just super on point, and then the bass to be kind of grooving between the kick, and then everything, then keep it pretty simple, you know. But be really careful of like stacking up too many frequencies in this low mid area. Yeah, I think it's got potential, but I think you need to kind of go back to the start a bit and just tighten up the foundation of it. Nope. I think this is a bit muddy as well. You could increase your kick a bit, and with like a sustained bass line like this, I think you want to have quite a bit of punch on the kick so that it comes through, so something in the high end, so maybe layer it with a bit more click. It also So I think you're kind of building up this atmospheric kind of stuff at the start here. I think after that break, you want to really drop it into something that's a bit more clubby. So like pull back on some of those melodic elements, and just really, yeah, let it rip. I think. Let's see. This pad lead kind of thing that you've got happening that's following the bass is really cool. Works really well for the track. There's these kind of like arpeggio type things that aren't, I don't know, they're not working as well, I think. It's not that they're not working, it's just that they're not not like something like that wouldn't work. It's more like, I think, just the sound selection could be, if you had something that was a bit different. Yeah, just basically like what I do when I've got something like that that I feel like it's not working, is I'll just duplicate the track, mute the one I've got, try a different sound, and maybe repeat that process 5-10 times, see if I can come up with something different. If nothing sounds better, then maybe I'll try a different element for that, to do that same kind of role. Yeah, it's kind of like you're stacking up more and more elements doing similar things, but I don't know that they're really working. I think, yeah, just kind of like keeping it simple and making sure that you've got the right sounds in there that are really working together. It feels like maybe things weren't quite gelling, so you decided to add some more things and some more things, and that, in my experience, never really leads to a great outcome. I think you've got a cool vibe. The chord progression and stuff works. I think if you can figure out a way to do more with the basic elements of the track, like get your drum groove working. I mean, the drum groove's fine, actually. Just get the kick punching a bit more, get it feeling a bit energetic, then bring in the bass, get that working. Maybe that could be a slightly better sound as well. It sounds a bit weird when in some places. And then those leads that come in, pad lead things, sound really cool. So once you've got that all working, then that's like that's what you need for the track, and then everything else is just kind of icing on the cake to keep things interesting. But I think also, yeah, like, so playing with the frequency spectrum, so having some like really bright things in, you've got this arpeggio thing that's in there, but it's a bit muddy. It's all like it's pretty much, it's quite similar the whole way through. Things just kind of come in and stay in, and then you add some more things. So just creating a bit more dynamics in the arrangement, bringing things in and out. Okay, so you've got this open hat that's in there right from the start. It's really, really prominent. And I think if you can have, maybe layer it with like a closed hat and have the closed hat in from the start. It feels a bit out of place. Like I think it would be if you just had a bit more of a tighter hat in there. It's going to feel, yeah, everything's just going to kind of gel a bit nicer. Then with this open hat that you've got, because it's so prominent, I think it needs some movement. Like it's just really there, very repetitive down the middle. If you can play with like note lengths, a couple of like really easy little things you can do is like, so if you've got, I'm not sure what you're using, but if you're using Ableton, then in Ableton you can like add a little bit of pan randomization, just a tiny bit. You can go turn on the LFO, turn that to random, and then go to controls, go to pitch, put that to like 1. So you're just changing the pitch a little bit of each note. You can add in a tiny bit of velocity randomization, something like that. And then you've just got this open hat that's like, you're not even going to notice that it's changing, but it's not going to sound exactly the same every single time. Then in your MIDI, you can have like a short note on the first half of the bar, then a long note, short note, long note, short note, long note, something like that. Just, yeah, creating a little bit of variation. And then when you do that throughout a bunch of different elements in the track, it just becomes more interesting. But yeah, especially, you know, if you're going to have a prominent element like that, it becomes very obvious when it's not changing at all. And the open hat does sound a lot better in context with once you've brought in the kick and the other elements here. So this is another one where there's quite a lot of synth activity in this, like, oh shit. And you've kind of got these, what you're trying to do there with the call and response type of thing with the two different synths is, it's really good. But the sounds that you've got there that are doing this kind of call and response are very similar to one another. If you can have them being a bit different from one another, then it's going to kind of make each one stand out. When the sound sources are too similar, everything starts to blend together. Another really cool thing that you can do is have like one be a synth sound and one be like a percussion sound or something like that. But I think you're on the right path with that to make something interesting, but the two sounds that you're using are a bit similar. Yeah, but really nice vibe, and so you've kind of nailed the vibe. It's like I think I think you're trying to go for like this kind of chilled, rolling kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's not super engaging. It kind of feels like it needs a hook, and I think those elements during the call and response could be that, but they just need to be a bit more stand out. And then yeah, get things like your open hat changing up a bit, just a little bit of movement in there. You got a lot of reverb on these drums, DJ Jack Cameron. It's a lot of kick too. It's like a massive long kick that you've got there, mate. Especially to have these like double kick things happening, like, yeah, I think I would say have a look at that, like maybe change out the kick, get something a bit more punchy in there, a bit less sustain on it. Yeah, I mean, it's the low end is a bit crazy. Like it's all, everything's like really running into each other. I think if you sort out those kicks, then it's all going to work a lot nicer. You can just see on the waveform here, like all of the low frequencies are just elements, are just kind of running into each other. You've probably got sidechain and stuff on there, but you want to have some space between the elements just to like let them like reset. Let the subs reset. It's going to give you a lot more definition in the low end. The track's quite linear. Things come up, the chord stabs come up and come down with the filter, but nothing's really changing coming in or out. But I think for the style, it's not too big of a problem. This could be like a decent filler track for like a nice housey set. But yeah, all that reverb on the drums is just like crazy, and the low end is just all over the place. So I think you've got the potential there to be like a really cool functional track with like a bit of a classic timeless vibe, but you really need to sort out the fundamentals of the track. I think this pad that you've got in there, this kind of like sounds like it's around like kind of around about 2 to 4K. It's like really loud. I don't think it. Maybe it's gonna work later in the track, but definitely not from the start. It's just kind of like distracting me from this like really fucking cool groove that you've got going on there. Like everything else I can hear is working super well, as your tracks normally do. But I think, yeah, I'd either just mute that or maybe just wait till later with it. Yeah, so much better now without that pad. That before the vocal came in, when you brought the pad back, it worked really well there. So I think just ditch it at the start. It works really well to build up some tension and some intensity. The vocal sounds really nice. I think you could bring it up in volume a bit. Yeah, sick atmosphere on this. Like always, your tracks are really good. Yeah, I think ditch the pad, man. Or maybe if it was a different sound, it could work. Because it's I guess I get what you're trying to do with it, like create tension and whatnot. But I think just get rid of it. How often do I do the live streams? Normally once a month. This is really sick. So get rid of that pad and it's another bomb. Rajesh just signed, how many tracks was it? Like 10 tracks to Valiant, which is an Australian label, really cool Australian label. I did a remix for them earlier in the year, run by The Journey, who are really awesome Australian DJ producers. Jacob Malmo and Tom. What's Tom? What's Tom's last name? Tom Evans. Jesus. All right, yeah, really cool guys. So check out their label. Check out. Keep an eye out for Rajesh. She's got some amazing music coming out soon. Yeah. Get rid of that pad, and you've got another bomb on your hands, bud. all formats, house feedback. Sounds like you've got reverb on your kick. Nice atmosphere with these little glitchy things in the background, but I think you've got like a big long reverb on your kick. It's another really long, quite long kick anyway. Oh, like, yeah, look at, I can just see by the transient there, it's a bit, yeah, anyway. I don't know that synth is working for this. That it's kind of like a, I don't know, it feels just a bit out of place. It's kind of like, I don't know, 2000s Eurodance kind of sound. There's some weird, like, I don't know, maybe it's like Tantra or Debug glitch or something on there, but it sounds like it's got some weird scratching effects on the vocal or on something. It sounds a bit weird. I'll take it, get rid of it. Nice. Feel like this, I'm struggling to figure out what you're trying to go for with it, but I think if the bass line was had a bit more movement in it, it could be like a cool kind of minimal deep tech style bass line. But as it is, like, the bass line is not really, it's not that interesting. Yeah, I think it's cool that you've tried a bunch of stuff in here, but I think this one's a miss. Don't mean to hurt your feelings, but I think, you know, you got to try different things, and certainly not all mine are hits. Most of them are misses, but you just go back to the drawing board. All right, let's have a go with Karen Puff. I will say all formats, Good on you for sending it in though, bro. You've got a lot of like texture, and this it sounds like it's underwater. Like your kick's quite quiet, your drums are a bit quiet, but you've got this really loud, like it sounds like people kind of talking. I don't know, some kind of like field recording or something with the tops rolled off, and it just kind of makes the track feel underwater. Same with the piano, like the piano's filtered. You need some more punch in there. There we go. Yeah, I think I'm not sure what's going on here, but it's not quite working for me. Here it sounds really cool. Your kick needs to be a bit louder, I believe. Especially for the volume of that clap. The clap's really, really loud. Yeah, I think this is got a really cool vibe. You've done some interesting production and stuff in it. But I think it's another one where you want to just like nail that foundation, and then everything else around it is a win. You've got the elements there. You just need to get the balance of your kick, bass, and drums and piano right, and then bring everything in. Bring the other things in so that they're not overpowering that kind of solid foundation of the track. Then I think it would be easier to tell whether or not it works. I think or then it would be a matter of like figuring out how to make it work. So I really like the vibe of this, man. I want to go like, yeah, this is fucking sick, but it's just not quite. It's not quite working. The drums and stuff sound really cool. Yeah, it's got really, really good potential. these like delayed glitchy background sounds that you've got are not grooving with the kick and bass that you've brought in, which I imagine is going to throw the whole track off. They're quite loud as well. That kind of lasery resonant stab that you've got happening on the downbeat, I'd get rid of that. It's making the track feel really robotic. Maybe having it less frequently could work, but I think I'd just ditch it and probably ditch those glitchy bits that you've got from the start. The rest of the track sounds like it should be pretty cool, but there's just a few bits that are really making it groove awkwardly, and some of the yeah, just not working basically. Yeah, I'm going to double down on what I just said. Get rid of that glitchy shit from the start, and that pew stab, and I think you're probably gonna, it's probably gonna be good. When you bring that vocal in and then those piano chords, they're like, you can't hear either of them because they're happening over the top of each other, and they're both like really dull. Those pianos are a vibe. That stuff from the start is still pissing me off. I think just get rid of that stuff, and I think everything's going to work in this. Yeah, hopefully. Aaron Hedges, 25 years making house and techno. Sick, brother. Committed. Some of these drums that you've got here sound like a bit weird. I think if you just make them a bit tighter, then they're going to sound way, way better. Yeah, they've got this kind of like 70s, 80s Caribbean like limbo vibe or something. Like, I don't know. The drums, I mean, the rest of everything else is really cool. Yeah, so this bongo that you've just brought in sounds a bit closer to how I would expect those other metal drums to be. Cool effects on the vocal. Nice how you've got it changing up. You've got that vocal that comes in at the start, or this one that's coming in again now. Then you bring in that glitchy vocal, so you kind of, yeah, you've got clear different sections. Some of these like pitchy effect sounds that you've got, I think with these kind of things you want to be careful. They can sound a bit cheesy. I think there's more elegant ways to do this kind of stuff, but for this style of tech house maybe it's not a problem. It's just my opinion. This glitchy, it sounds like Tantra. This glitchy thing is like got some really loud resonant peaks in it. I'd be careful with that, especially like on a really loud sound system. I think that could sound a bit crazy. So yeah, I think to summarize my advice, I would tighten up the percussion and maybe be careful of some of these glitchy bits. But it's like a really solid, well-produced tech house track. This stab thing that you've got coming in, it's cool, but I think if you put a bit of delay or something on it, it could just sit in the track a bit nicer, because it's mixed quite loud, which could be totally cool, but it just sounds a bit dry at the moment. It also sounds quite static, so I reckon like just get a bit of movement on it. You're probably going to do this, but also having something to do a call and response with it would be like really good. Really, yeah, really solid stuff, man. As usual. With that sound that's just come in, this like, um, it's, I think it's really cool. It could have like, so what you could do with it in the break is have some delay or something on it that's like building up with more feedback. So it's getting more and more, it's getting bigger, extending out longer, sticking around. And then I don't think you need to have that playing when it drops. You could have it like go like it, play it here, then have it delay up to the drop, and then drop without it. It's just going to create more tension and create like more of a change when it drops. And then yeah, I don't think it's like adding anything to the groove by being there once it's dropped here. And then you could have it come back again here, right? And then, so I think it can be tempting to like, you know, you find a new cool sound and you chuck it in the track and it's working, it sounds good. It can be tempting to like use it more frequently. But often, especially just depending on the sound, often it can be like cool to just use it a couple of times, leave the listener wanting more. But yeah, really good stuff, man. So for anyone who's watching, I do mentoring with Downpour. He's an amazing producer, and we're just working on getting him signed to some sick labels. And so one of the feedback thing, or one of the things we've been working on, is like stripping back his tracks to be focus a bit more on the core elements. And I think you've done a really good job of this. You haven't added too much extra shit, and you've kept things like very reserved, and just like with the vocals, they're not happening all the time, they're just happening where they need to be. And it just, yeah, I think it sounds really good, really polished. I would just do the same thing with that synth, and yeah, just instead of like having it play more, work it more, like have it do more when it's happening, and then use it as to create like these moments in the track, because I think it definitely works when you bring it in here. Interesting what you've done with the trying to like have the whores in this house vocal and then the I'm a freaky bitch vocal. It, I I don't know. It's maybe it's just a personal taste thing, but I've never really liked this vocal. I think it's kind of yeah. But anyway, it's also uh, like a vocal that's very well known, used a lot from a very classic house track. I was trying to remember who it's from, but I can't. Yeah, I can't remember who did it. I don't know. Yeah, I find it just a bit the vocal. I find it a bit obnoxious, and it's like and to have that vocal, you kind of want it to be like a really pumping, energetic track, and then you've got like this build up that's for this big pumping, energetic track, but you've got these pad chord things that are just really deep and chilled and bringing the energy down. I don't know. I don't think the combination of things is working.
7 days a week.
I mean, I reckon you could just ditch that Whores in This House vocal and Frank Ski produced the original track. Right. Thanks for that, Aaron. Yeah, I don't know. The two just aren't vibing together, in my opinion. You could what I would suggest is like using the like 7 days a week vocal that you've got there. Do something like really work it, put effects on it, use it in a interesting, unique way, and just let the track do more of the talking rather than this like repetitive, overused vocal sample throughout the track.
And I am a freaky bitch.
See, like that, just the contrast between this like massive 909 snare rise to dropping with the kick and these like very chilled pads, just it doesn't sound right.
I am a freaky bitch. I'm a freaky bitch.
There's some hoes in this house. There's some.
Yeah, I mean, I think just get rid of that. What's it called? Frank Ski vocal, and then I think it could probably all come together with a bit of finessing. You're more than welcome to use those snare rises, but just please bring them down in volume a bit. Like they sound like they're for a peak time techno track at the moment. Yeah, just finesse it a bit. So at this point, for me anyway, at this point, this sounds fucking awesome. Leading up to that point, it just wasn't that engaging. It felt like it felt a bit dull, a bit uninteresting, but this vocal is really, really cool, in my opinion. And when you drop here and you have the vocal, it's got really good space in the. There's a lot of space for the vocal in the track, and it fits the vibe really well, in my opinion. So I think it's just a matter of like figuring out how to make that a bit more interesting. It's not necessarily a matter of like adding anything significant, but just like just figuring out how to keep it interesting. Yeah, really solid, man. I think it's got some really good potential. I have to have a think about exactly how to make it work. One thing I think is missing is like some like intensity in the like higher end, so like some kind of distorted pad stabs or something, some kind of, I think there's some room for I'm not sure, like maybe some, instead of having, because like a lot of the synths are in the lower end of the frequency spectrum, so maybe having something that's like playing like strings or something like that, like staccato strings, or I'm not too sure, but I think we can figure out how to make that really cool. Greg's another guy that I do mentoring with, so looking forward to chat about that one. So this whole section here, I really liked the way that you brought in the bass line, but nothing's really happened. It's all... And these kind of like this like rattly thing, background thing. I just don't think it's working. It's just confusing the groove. It's also quite, it's a bit washy. Like I think if you can have something like that, you want it to be more plucky and short. It just, yeah, it sounds like there's just something weird going on, almost like you're listening to a track and on headphones, and I can hear something that's happening outside of the headphones or something like that. Some texture in there could be interesting, but it really needs to work with the rest of the track. It's often better to do that kind of thing at the end, because then you can find something that really works with the core elements of the track, rather than... It can be tempting to do it at the start to get a vibe or whatever, but yeah, maybe taking it out, changing it at the end could be a good move. Again, like that build up just isn't warranted for that drop, you know. It's, imagine that in a club, or even, you know, like on a big festival stage or something. Like that's so intense, and then it just drops back to something kind of deep and chilled. It doesn't make sense, you know. So I mean, you can do that thing with the kick roll, but just filter out the bottom end as you do it. Or maybe just don't do it with the kicks. Okay, so I think you've got a lot of kind of cool stuff going on here, but it doesn't really have a hook, right? That can be, for this kind of music, you could get away with that if you're doing lots of really interesting kind of production and arrangement things. But yeah, it needs a hook. It needs something memorable. It's like it's got like the foundation of a track there, but I think you need something that's a bit more recognizable for the track to make it stand out. Oh, excuse me. This like really whiny, high-pitched pad thing that you've got in the background there is just really not working. It sounds a bit weird, but the the other elements that you've got sounding really cool. I think, yeah, maybe just something that's a bit more classic kind of string sound. The track's just too full, man. Like, you've got this vocal that's should be really present. I think what it feels like to me is that you tried a lot of things for the track, which is fantastic. That's what, in my opinion, that's what you should do. But then there's got to be a point where you decide what to take out, and things need space, you know. So I would go, a process that I often go through with my own tracks is like going back to the drawing board and just like, so I've got all this stuff that I've put into the track, and I'll solo the kick, the bass, whatever I think is the next most important thing, like the vocal, the probably in this case the vocal, and then I'll start turning on things and turning them on and off, like soloing them on and off, or muting them, and trying to figure out what is the least amount of things that I can have in this track to make it sound cool. And when you've got the least amount of things that make it sound cool and full and are working with each other, then I think you can have like a rocking track with this. But you've also got enough elements that you can have like sections where the vocal plays and you take out a bunch of these synths, and you can have a section where one of these kind of synth melodies comes in and does its thing and then drops out, and that's going to help you in the arrangement, like create dynamics and create like these different sections that keep it really interesting and turning over. Yeah, there's too much stuff going on, man. I think it's got really potential to be a very cool track, but you just need to strip it back a bit. Make the track work around the vocal. Yeah. Your vocal is strong enough to carry the song. Exactly, Victor. Nathaniel, you said it's yourself, your brother, and your friend Arthur. It sounds like you've all added stuff to the track, but then someone's got to be the guy that says, right, this stuff's got to go, right? Maybe that can be you. But that's almost as more important than adding the stuff to the track, is deciding what to take away. Lateral Shift, Spaced Out. Cool name. Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah, we're running a bit low on time, so I'm going to have to start skipping through these tracks a bit faster. The tops in this are really overwhelming. Like you've got it sounds like you've got a bunch of shakers, or like a few different shaker loops, and it's like, yeah, it's just making everything feel really washy. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. There's a few different things happening at the high end. It's not a bunch of shaker loops or something, but I think with every part of your track, you want it to be grooving and talking to each other. It feels like the highs are a bit disjointed. Also, maybe a bit too loud. That could be my fault with this limiting. You've also got this vocal that's kind of happening in the background. It's like bringing down the energy a bit for me. I would try muting it. So what I was kind of thinking about this is that it feels like it needs a hook, and this ARP that you've brought in here, that I think is what the track needed. It needs to come sooner, but the sound that you've got there just sounds a bit thin. Yeah, I think if you have something, maybe you could have that, I don't know, it sounds like a sitar or something, have that, but then maybe have like a punchy synth underneath it as well, to layer it with. It's going to give it a bit more body, but bring that in sooner, because it's engaging. It helps give the track energy. It's an element that you can work in and out, bring up and down, because before it just sounds a bit washy and a bit like I'm just kind of waiting for something to happen. You've got lots of elements in there, but nothing to really grab onto, and I think that is your element to grab onto. So yeah, revisit the arrangement, and I think focus on that ARP sound. it's way too loud, and you've got like quite a lot of atmosphere going, which sounds really cool actually, going on in the rest of the track. But then the clap comes in and it's got like a different reverb kind of sound to it. It doesn't sound too bad when the rest of the drums come in, but when it was playing by itself, it sounded really disjointed from the rest of what was going on. I think your bass is also maybe like 4 or 5 dBs too loud for what's going on. And the clap's probably 5 to 7 dBs too loud. Vocals too loud. So you've got this stab that comes in, which is cool, but it's just kind of sitting there. And the same with like a few of the elements in the track, like they're just kind of sitting there. So I think I've said this quite a few times in this session. I've said this like so many times throughout doing these live streams, but like, work your elements. You don't need more elements. You need to work with what you've got, and like, yeah, use delay, reverb, use sends and returns, make things like evolve and change, and then you don't need to add something new, you know. Create dynamics in your track by bringing things down, then bringing things up. Yeah, like the elements that you've got are pretty cool. Like I think the track has potential with a good mix down, and because a lot of the elements sound a bit disjointed, like they're kind of not really gelling with one another, but yeah, I don't know, overall it sounds pretty cool. Again, with the vocal, man, put some delay and some, you know, make it sound cool and interesting and vibey. That's the style of the track.
It's that boy like you don't see me. It's that boy like you don't see me. The sun is louder than you. It's that boy like you don't see me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got a cool idea there. I like the vocal hook. It fits well. It's, yeah, you just need to like work your elements and make sure everything's, I don't know, I always use reverb as send, so that everything sounds like together, like it's in the same space, and then you don't end up with things that have got like some weird big reverb on it, and then something else has got a small reverb, because that reverb adds a lot of character, and it also, you know, you have to, like, if you take a step back from what it is, and instead of just listening to how it sounds, and think about what it's representing, what it's telling the listener's brain, it's talking about the space that the sound is in. So if like one thing sounds like it's like in a big hall, and the other one sounds like it's in a bathroom, then that's really confusing for the brain. There's been some really weird reverb things in this session. Like you've got a big reverb on your kick and no reverb on your clap. It just sounds weird. I mean, I'm not sure if it's on your kick or maybe it's on a loop or something, but it just sounds disjointed. So if when this comes in here with these kind of percussion-y things, it starts to sound too much. But if you had like a nice tight kick with a very short snap on it, it was quite low, like, yeah, it would, then there's space for all this other stuff. No, actually, scrap that. Get rid of some of that percussion, because I think you've got like a good the bass line and the kick and everything would be fine if the kick didn't have that weird reverb and shit on it. Victor Nova, be careful with mastering presets on your master. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Like, if you're trying to get your track to sound mastered, just use a limiter if you don't know what you're doing. Just get it to sound loud. That's essentially what mastering is. The rest of it can be done should be done in the mix down, especially if you don't know what you're doing, you know, like, just if you're trying to just get your track to sound mastered so you can try it out or send it to a feedback live stream, then just use a limiter gently and call it a day. Another one, like the bass is like, I don't know, 5 to 6 dBs too loud. It's not creating, it just creates this like really unrelenting low end with the kick. There's no groove, and I can tell by the rest of the track that you're going for something that's a bit more groovy. I like that kind of vibey, reverby mid-range pad that's come in, but there's no space for it with that big kick reverb thing going on. Yeah. Another, you know, like, I think, again, you just need to, before you start getting too crazy with things, at some point I think it's important to go back and just make sure that you've got a solid foundation for your track, and that, like, if you can listen to your kick, your clap, your hat, your bass, and they sound really good together, and you feel like, oh, I could listen to this all day. That's like the perfect starting point for your other stuff, to work on top. The kick sounds a bit dull. It sounds like it needs a bit of punch on the top end. I think it's also quite boxy, like if I EQ out a little bit here. With a tighter clap or snare, that's going to sound much more like modern and have a lot more energy. Or maybe even just bringing that snare sound down and layering it with a nice bright clap, and just pulling in the decay of that snare a bit. Maybe even just add a clap, so it's like nice and bright and punchy and energetic, and then have the snare thing play every like on every fourth clap or something like that, or have the claps playing and then use the snare as like a groovy percussion kind of thing. So I think you've got this really solid, energetic groove going here, and then when you take away all the highs in this break, you've also taken away a lot of all of the lows. So it's like, sorry, not like you've taken away the kick, and it leaves kind of like a hole in the track. I think you could keep some of those highs going, and then maybe use like a filter on the group or some volume automation on the group to like lower them slowly as you go through the break. It's just going to feel a bit less abrupt. Again, like I was saying in some of the last tracks, like get some interesting delay and stuff on this vocal, this control thing. Right, so if you're going to do that and have like a whole bar of just silence, you owe it to the listener to have something really cool happen, right? So that didn't build up the kind of energy and the anticipation, because yeah, you like, you know, maybe doubling those kicks, having them like build up a bit more, and then having another fill between. You've got the opportunity to have a like really cool moment in the club or something there, and it doesn't quite deliver. Right, it's 5, so we're going to wrap up very shortly. I'm going to get through these last few. Nice conga groove. I'm a big fan of conga grooves. So your bass is taking up a lot of space there, dude. Like I would bring the sustain down on it a bit so you can have it like, just make it a bit more plucky. Yeah, it's just taking up a lot of space in the mix. And then this vocal comes in and it's like a bit not really there. It's being overwhelmed a bit by the bass. Yeah, that the bass is kind of just overdone for the track, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd sort out the bass, man. Maybe something that's a bit more, got a bit more bite to it as well. And also being such a prominent element, it doesn't really change too much throughout the track. So get some movement on it. I think your kick here might be a bit too short, Ian. There's not really much sub to it. Nice bass that's coming in. I like the vibe that you've got started. I like the vibe that you've got going on here at the start. I think this has got the opposite problem to some of the other tracks where the bass is a bit quiet in this, I believe. Maybe pump it up like 2 dB or something like that, but also having a kick that's got a bit more decay on it would really kind of help to make the low end a bit more solid in the track. Everything's also very centered, so panning some elements out, especially in the hats and stuff, could really help. Everything's completely mono. Doesn't sound any different when I turn on the mono. Yeah, so I'd get some panning in there. But Ian, really big improvement, man, compared to some of the earlier tracks that you sent in for the live streams, like night and day. You're doing really, really well, man. Well, this one's a radio edit, so I always wonder about like this kind of stuff, like for this type of music, radio edit, is it really that important? But anyway, whatever. Sounds really good from the start, really solid foundation for the track. Really nice. I'd be interested to know if you've done an extended mix, because it feels like something that for a DJ to play, not really a Spotify track, which I think there is definitely a distinction. But it sounds really good. Yeah, this is really good. I just would be interested to know about the extended edit. But cool. Yeah, great one. Now, I'm not sure how to say your name, Marlon. Anyway, she mentioned that she didn't want feedback on the mixdown, only on the melodic elements, because she would have the track mixed by someone, which is great. If you don't feel comfortable mixing your track yourself, get someone else to do it. You know, I advise everyone to go do that. Your kick sounds very, very low. Like, yeah, really, really low. Like if I cut out down to about 30 hertz. It's almost gone. And, so that means that this probably can't be pressed to vinyl. And that a lot of club systems, that sub's not going to come through on. So I think it's something I hear a lot. I had a mix down this week where the bass line that the guy sent me was, the fundamental of the bass line was like 18 hertz or something. And it's just, yeah, it's not necessary. So yeah, look, I think the sweet spot for like kind of house music, like you're doing here, for the fundamental of the kick is somewhere around 50 hertz. Um, you've got you kind of brought in a second bass line. You've got this really subby bass line, and then you've got another bass line over the top, and it's I think it's just simplify it. These like stabs that you've got coming in with the delay sound really nice, but I think the foundation of the track is not quite working. A kick that's a bit more of an appropriate range, and then maybe just stick with this kind of more mid-range sounding bass line. It sounds like there's a lot of details in this track without there being like a discernible hook that I can like latch onto, and it's like super memorable. You've done some really good sound design. Like I really like this synth sound that just comes in here. Yeah, but it just needs a bit more groove and roll to the low end. I think you're adding lots of really cool, interesting elements, but the like foundation of the track isn't there. Like, yeah. So I think going back to the basics, muting all these like interesting sounding synths and just trying to figure out what is this track about, what's the foundation, what are the core elements, and getting them to work really well together. I mean, I would suggest that it's probably around this bass line, a new kick, get the drums like grooving nicely, and then figure out a way to like work that bass line, filter cutoff, effects, delay, reverb, automation. Yeah, then this synth that's coming in here is something that you could use to create rise and fall and tension. Yeah, I mean, I know you asked me also to focus on the melodic elements, not the mix down, but there's kind of like I've realized that as I've gotten better at mixing, it informs me what elements are going to work in the track, and like so making sure that you have space in the frequency spectrum and the time for each element, so each element has their own space, and so that you're kind of filling up that frequency spectrum, not focusing all on one area. I think I would always suggest people to try to improve their mixing, and especially balancing of elements, because that's going to be the biggest, most impactful thing for a mix down, is getting elements at the right volume. And then you can kind of if you can do that, that's like 80% of your mix anyway, and then you can kind of assess which elements are working and which aren't. So yeah. But yeah, I think you've got some really cool sound design and stuff going on there, some cool ideas. I think it just needs a bit more of it needs to be structured around what's the main hook, what's the main idea of the track, where is it going, what's it doing. All right, massive shout out to everyone who sent in tracks this week. Some really amazing stuff in there, like, wow, really hats off, guys. This has been like, there's been some of the best tracks that we've heard this month, I think. It's crazy. And thanks to Victor and Aaron for giving really great feedback in the chat as well. Really appreciate that, guys, getting involved there. Hopefully the people who got to have some feedback got some value from it. Yeah, good stuff. And I will post this on the channel in a few days. So have a good Sunday, everyone, and we will be back again soon.